Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol tournament recap. And yeah, today we're talking about the most recent Gamebridge tournament. Time of recording, this was earlier today, but it'll be coming out on the Monday, so this was on Saturday. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into things here. So, as we can see, I didn't do particularly amazing here, although I didn't do particularly terrible either. I placed near the middle here in ninth place with a score of 2-2. And yeah, let's jump into rosters and things like that. But first of all, shoutouts as always to the people who came in first, second, and third here, including Reed, who's on the channel all the time for the various battle reports and things like that. So Reed managed to pull third with his X-Men list. I'll put that up on the screen real quick. Unfortunately, first and second did not share their lists, so we can't show those off. But there's the X-Men list that took third if anyone is interested. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and jump into my list. And this list will look very, very familiar to anyone who watched the video about the triple affiliated Avengers list. Or Avengers Defenders Midnight Suns list rather. So I said during that video that I was going to run it in an event sometime soon, so I decided to run it for this one. And yeah, the only thing I changed from there was I swapped out Iron Man for Scarlet Witch, who was in the list before. That opened up the card slots a little bit as well. I don't remember exactly what came in because of that. Obviously, Helios Laser wouldn't have been there before, but something else came in as well. Not 100% sure what I put in there, but it was probably either No Matter the Cost or Escort to Safety, both of which are just really good cards. So either way, if you want to get the details on kind of what this list is and why I built it and all that stuff, by all means go check out the list building video where I go into a lot of depth with this. But I'm going to save some of that from this video just to keep it on a little bit of the shorter side because my voice is very dead after today. But also just because I've already talked about this, so there's not too much more to it. But the basic idea is it's triple affiliated and it's kind of meant to mirror the list that I brought when I first got into the game. So there's a lot of kind of suboptimal choices in here. For example, I'm not running a Hulk, whether immortal or regular, which would be really good in a list like this. And I was certainly missing it during some of the games today. So it was a bit of a meme. I wasn't here to take first place or anything like that. I was here to see if I could do, at least 2-2, and that's what I did. So I'm pretty happy with how things went, all things considered. But despite the fact that I wasn't really playing for first to begin with, I still think there's stuff that can be learned. So I still think doing the tournament recap is valuable. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start getting into some of the games here. So my first game here was against Jake Eagle here, and he was playing Sentinels. So I was really excited for a first match here where I was running a bit of a kind of more memey list. Playing against someone playing Sentinels, I feel like I have a chance there because obviously Sentinels are not the hottest affiliation in the game right now. And yeah, so it was really interesting. Meme list versus affiliation that's generally known to be bad, and see how that shakes out. Kind of evens the playing field a little bit. So I'm down with that. And it was a really, really good game. I got pictures, so we'll go through all that stuff in a moment. But real quick, let's see if Mr. Jake here posted his list. He came one spot below me, and he did. So his list is right here for anyone curious. I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but what he brought against me was Sentinel Prime, Cassandra Nova, and Corvus Realities. So three wide, which made total sense because we were playing on, I want to say, Researcher and Deadly Meteors. That would have been there just a second ago. Yeah, Researcher and Deadly Meteors. So not very many points to score. Very low scoring game. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get into the pictures and things like that. Alrighty, so this is the end of round one. I didn't take pictures of deployment on any of the games, so I apologize. But my list, which I realized I didn't mention earlier, is Daredevil, Iron Man, Luke Cage, and Ghost Rider. And weirdly enough, Ghost Rider made almost every game today, which I'm cool with. I love playing Ghost Rider. But yeah, so basically I had Daredevil hanging out on kind of this side. I had Iron Man and Cage on either side of this massive piece of terrain here that was really, really obnoxious. And then I had Ghost Rider kind of hanging out a little bit towards the left, but honestly, I was content to just give him that point once he put Corvus over there. And then he had Prime and Cassandra Nova just kind of towards the middle for deployment. So I'm gonna give myself a second to try and remember exactly how this went, and we'll get into it. All right, so basically, I'm pretty sure I had prio here. So the first thing I did was I just had Daredevil move up and flip this point, so that was fine. And then he was kind of sitting in cover. He was hard to be pulled and all that stuff. So at that point, I think he had Corvus go and do the same on this side. So he took that side point with Corvus, but there's no real point in going for the middle yet. So all was good there. Then I decided, we'll send Luke Cage up, and he can go contest that middle point there. So he goes and he does that, and he flips the point actually in my favor. So things are also looking pretty good there. And of course, we're contesting the researcher as well. Sentinel Prime then double moves up and succeeds on flipping the point, needing two successes. It's something like a 50-50. So he does succeed and he takes the point from me. So that's a little unfortunate. Also worth mentioning here, Daredevil took a damage, and then Iron Man goes to try and flip the point back, and he also takes a damage, which unfortunate. And he fails, as you can see by the fact that it was still in his control. Before that, though, because Iron Man was actually my last activation, we had Ghost Rider try to do it. And Ghost Rider double moved, also failed to flip the point, and he took a damage as well. So not great there, but is what it is. Then he went with Cassandra Nova, hit Ghost Rider with the Mystic attack that lets him advance me my speed, which really sucks. So he sent Ghost Rider back to deployment, basically. And that was when Iron Man came up. And actually, I don't remember if Iron Man even tried to flip. I know at some point Iron Man tries to flip and takes the damage for it. But it wasn't, I don't think it was actually here. I think I just stood him here and was like, I'm not going to bother. We can just take the researcher and call it. So we end up scoring 3-2. It's a nice little bit of a lead, and we haven't let him have any sort of attrition lead yet, really, outside of taking a couple damage on our own guys. So we're pretty happy with where we're at, but we're far from over here. So going into round two, and let's see if it'll let me. There we go. Um, Going into round two here. Um, as you can see, lots of stuff happened here. So I feel like we might have. No, we didn't miss a round. This is round two. Um, yeah. So I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I'm gonna take a second and figure that out. All right. So I'm gonna be a little foggy on the order of events here, but one of the few thing or a few of the things that I know happened here is Cage dropped a spender on Cassandra Nova. Only did like a couple damage, but the conditions were pretty relevant, and he was really, really worried about the stun, so he actually ended up shaking it when Cassandra Nova went. And if I remember correctly, she didn't do anything super meaningful with her turn. I think she did a good chunk of damage to either Cage or Tony. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I think both of them might have went down this turn. But she didn't do anything too crazy. So yeah, that was her. She ended up shaking the stun and just trying to hit back. Cage unfortunately didn't get the throw, so there was none of that going on. As for Sentinel Prime, I'm pretty sure Sentinel Prime just dummied Cage in like a single attack this turn, which was real unfortunate. But in retaliation, Daredevil did hit him back and give him that stun condition there, which was nice. And I think I did like 1 or 2 damage. So, we're starting because we are going to have to plink down some of these guys eventually. Um, Corvus was trying to contest the researcher, so he ended up double moving in just to contest. So he didn't actually get to attack here, which was nice for me because then what I was able to do was I sent Ghost Rider. I long moved up and then I short moved, or medium moved rather, to get onto the point. So that was really nice because now I had 2 models there, and then I was able to blast Corvus, which is how I handed out that lovely little hex there. And I don't know if Iron Man actually got to go this turn. If he did, he didn't do anything meaningful. But you will notice between these 3 models, one of them was able to flip this. I don't remember who it was. It might have actually been Daredevil on the way up. I think I long moved here, went for the 50-50, succeeded, and then moved over to this side. So I'd be scoring the researcher that's just kind of in between all 3 of these guys here. So once again, we took a nice point lead here. We also managed to flip the middle point, so that was huge, giving us 4 points this turn and putting things nice and kind of in our favor here. Going into the next round, as you can see, a few things got kind of moved around here. So Cage got pulled out by Sentinel Prime. He basically just yanked him through here. You can see I moved the researcher down here after last round. Daredevil, I'm pretty sure ended up surviving this round. I'm trying to remember the exact events of how that happened. But I think, as you can see, Iron Man is off the table. So Helios Laser ended up getting burned by just I think Sentinel Prime yanked Cage out of the way and then just went to town on Iron Man. Thankfully, because of the Hex on Corvus, he didn't end up doing anything super meaningful on his turn. I think he did a few damage into Daredevil, which was still meaningful, but Daredevil was still kicking. So Daredevil, of course, here is scoring me the Researcher, which is great. Then over on this side, Ghost Rider ended up getting, I want to say double tapped actually, by Cassandra Nova, and he got moved into some awkward positions somewhere down here again. So what I ended up doing with him was basically just kind of looking at the board and being like, okay, well, none of your guys are that close to dead, so we're gonna go and take your last point because you've abandoned it with Corvus and give us a really solid point lead going into the rest of the game. So that was going pretty smoothly there, despite the fact that we lost Iron Man. We still had a few tools to keep the rest of them alive, and we had a really nice point lead. So at this point, we just wanted to stall out the game and keep scoring. You know, we don't even need to be scoring more than our opponent anymore. We just want to be able to kind of keep up. So then we go into the final round, or no, this is the second last round. This ain't the final round. This was a longer game. This went to the end of round 6. So actually, this isn't even close. And this was a big turn. Cassandra Nova ends up putting out the slow and the root on both Daredevil and Ghost Rider, which is incredibly annoying. They both absolutely hated this. Um, I think Cage might have went down here. I think it was Iron Man that he was dummying in earlier round. So I think it was this round would have been when Cage went down, or maybe it was the round before. But either way, it wasn't the first round that I said it was. I know at some point he does get flipped here, and this might have actually been the round where Ghost Rider got flipped. Because I know there was a round that a bunch of damage was done into Ghost Rider, and that is how I eventually got rid of the slow and root. But once again, Ghost Rider got thrown to a corner and he was slowed and rooted. It was not a fun time for him. But he did come back up, and I think he ended up getting a penance stare into Corvus, which is why you can see Corvus's conditions are gone, because we did manage to take him down. Daredevil was originally standing on this point. I think he contributed to taking down Corvus and maybe putting some damage into Sentinel Prime, but he did end up getting yanked off the point by Sentinel Prime, allowing my opponent to score 2 of these guys here, as well as the Researcher for the first time, I believe. Unless this was the turn I took Sentinel Prime down, I'm not 100% sure. Unfortunately, I don't have the scoreboard in the shot for this one. But as I said before, I don't really need to be scoring up on my opponent this turn anymore. I just wanted to be going at least neutral, or at least, staying ahead and kind of trying to stall out the game. So I still scored 1, and that was enough because we were still pretty far ahead. So going into the next round here, and as you can see, Daredevil took a bit of a walk. He ends up getting. Oh, I think we messed something up actually. Looking back at this, because he should still have been slowed and rooted. But Cassandra Nova advanced him long away. Oh, that's actually a big deal because that affects a lot of things. Ghost Rider clearly didn't go down that round, or the previous round, because he still has the conditions in this round, and I know she didn't hand them out again. This is probably the round where I took her out. I want to say that makes sense to me, with where Cage is and where she is and everything. So, yeah, this was round 6. No, that was round 6. Yeah. So I think I dazed her here, and I dazed Sentinel Prime this round, which was really nice. Cage scored me the Researcher this round, and yeah, that put me in a really solid place to just have game. I was only like 2 points away, but I also had a very solid lead, and as you can see, we were about to go into round 6. So going into round 6, I don't know what happened to Daredevil's conditions, being completely honest. I'm, you know what? If I actually go back a couple here, they were never Daredevil's conditions. They were Luke Cage's conditions. That makes way more sense. Yeah, he got rooted and slowed, so we're okay. We didn't break anything. I just mixed things up. So basically what ends up happening after this point is Daredevil is still healthy. He's on like 2 health, but he is still healthy. So he's left with a problem right out the gate here of he needs to deal with all 3 of these models because Ghost Rider is clearly still healthy. No, he isn't. That was the round he got dazed. So Ghost Rider was about to wake up. Luke Cage was on his flip side, but he was contesting because at this point both of his models were flipped as well, and I only needed 2 points to win. So I could either take the Researcher or I could take any two of these. He ends up having a really solid set of turns with these two. He takes Luke Cage off the table, does some good damage to Ghost Rider and puts him out of position. And then Ghost Rider ends up running over here, flipping this point, and he's left with Sentinel Prime. He, at this point, needs to kill Daredevil because he's still healthy, and if he ties that point, that wins me the game regardless. So he moves over here to flip this because that also was going to win me the game. Succeeds on the flip, and then he pulls Daredevil in, tries to punch him, and unfortunately for him, doesn't manage to get the 1 or 2 damage that he needed. So Daredevil uses his little advanced thing to make it even more secured. And then on Daredevil's turn, I just walked him onto the point because that won me the game. I toyed around with the idea of dropping a spender here and killing both of them, but that actually would have been worse because tabling would have just ended the game right then and there, and the victory points was worth more for tiebreakers and stuff. So I figured, if somehow we end up in the running for top 3 or something, that's probably valuable. But yeah, that is how that rolled out, and that was the end of round 1. It was a really good game, really fun game. My opponent, unfortunately, we realized at the end, he completely forgot that his leadership existed the entire game. And honestly, I forgot what Sentinel's leadership does. So is what it is, unfortunately. But that was definitely a big deal. That might have helped him out in a couple different places, specifically near the end there, where Daredevil definitely at 1 health at this point. When he moved in, Cassandra didn't have the power to hit him for landing there. So that could have been a big deal. But the score ends 17 to 9 in the defender's favor. So even if he had it just means I wouldn't have hit 16, but it still would have ended in my favor there. So great game though, and yeah, we go on to the next one. So my second game was into Mark R, who unfortunately doesn't have his list posted, so I can't go over that. But he was playing Defenders, so there was potential for a mirror there, which is kind of cool. We ended up pulling Demons Downtown and Montesi, which I was pretty happy with because I had all of those scenarios, but I also didn't have some of the pieces that I would have liked to have there, so there was a little bit of concern with that. But yeah, it ended up being a really good game. He ended up winning, and I do have a couple pictures of this one. Unfortunately, I was a little less diligent during rounds 2 and 3, so I don't have as many pictures as I did for the first one or the last one. But we still got a couple, and then I think even just a couple gives a much better picture than none. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at those. Alrighty, so this was the end of round 1, and you can kind of get the idea of the lists here. So we were very, very similar in a couple places, or no, it was just this one. I'm thinking of a different game. I'm thinking of a different game where I was pretty much a mirror of my opponent. That wasn't during this. The only mirror we had was Iron Fist, and he had a Hulk, he had a Beta Ray, he had a Crimson Dynamo, and he had a Wong. So he was running leaderless Defenders, but he was running Defenders still because he did have the card. And then for my side, I was doing Iron Fist, Voodoo, Blade, Ghost Rider, and Luke Cage. So obviously Demons is a very interesting map for this one because I want to be able to pile into something like Hulk as much as possible, and I want to be able to make sure I'm scoring the middle points, but that's kind of hard to do when it's Demons, and my guys are going to be punished for that. So bringing Ghost Rider and Voodoo, I always really like having the pair of them on Demons. I did make a small mistake here. I didn't put Ghost Rider on any points. Maybe it wasn't a mistake necessarily, but it definitely was something that I should have been a little more careful about in later turns. But anyways, as far as this round is concerned, this round was really interesting. So he had Prio, and he goes up with Hulk, and he picks up the middle book. And at this point, this was the very first activation, and he's sitting in the middle, and I'm just like, okay, well, you know what? Our plan this game has to be kill Hulk. We don't have the means to control him. Unfortunately, the list with the restrictions I put on myself just didn't have any real good, effective means of controlling a Hulk. So our only option is to kill it. So we go with Blade, and we throw a glaive, and we get the pursuit, and everything's great. We do like 1 or 2 damage. We unfortunately don't get the bleed with that, but we do get ourselves onto the point, so that's all good. Then I don't remember who he went with next. It might have been Wong actually, and he just kind of meditated and moved up, sort of thing. I don't think he did anything super meaningful, so he ends up there. Next, I decided to go with Iron Fist, so I move him up and I do a flying kick. I actually needed to bump to be able to get in range, but I do the flying kick. I do 1 or 2 damage. Again, we're nickel and diming him here, and we place ourselves over here, so we're gonna have cover from incoming attacks, which is solid. He follows up with his Iron Fist, does very similar. He moves forward and flying kicks into my Iron Fist. Doesn't end up doing any damage. I have cover and I count blanks, so we weren't really expecting much to go through, but he places himself nice and in there. So now he's threatening Heroes for Hire, which is very relevant. So at this point, I end up moving up Voodoo, and I blast Iron Fist, and I leave him on, I think, 2 or 3 health. Mystic is not his favorite side, so there's that. And then he goes with Beta Ray. He tries to do a attack on Voodoo. His Summon the Storm does like 2 damage if I remember correctly, but leaves Voodoo unshocked and alive and well. So then we move up Ghost Rider, and actually I want to say Ghost Rider happened before this. He might have moved. I don't know who he would have moved between that, but I guess he would have moved Dynamo, and then his last activation would have been Bill. Yeah, that actually checks out. So, um, yeah, that's gonna throw me off a little bit, but um, we moved up Ghost Rider. We did get the Hex on Hulk, which the reason why I feel like that had to have happened first is I think I tried to put out the Hex before I had Voodoo attack because I wanted to lower his dice odds a little bit. So we get the Hex out either way, and we actually did pretty good damage too. I think we did like 3 or 4 damage on that attack. So Ghost Rider had a really nice one. And for what it's worth, when Voodoo hit Iron Fist, that was another one where like we had a skull, we got a sap power in there or something as well. So we had tons of power on all these guys. It was really nice. Um, and then at this point, we're looking at this and we're like, okay, well, we've already done, an okay chunk in Hulk here. Let's Siege of Darkness. All of my Midnight Suns are in range of him, and he is very much priority number 1. So Iron Fist makes a punch. Iron Fist ends up doing like 1 or 2 damage, building back some of the power, which I'm more than okay with. Blade does a Katana Strike, gets that bleed on. Everything's looking great there. Voodoo takes out Iron Fist. We actually did that first because Iron Fist needed to go down for preventing Hero for Hire from screwing any of this up. And then Ghost Rider does like another couple damage to Hulk here, and we end up having 13 damage on Hulk this round, which felt really, really good going into the next round. And then Cage just hung out on a back point, so that was cool. Crimson Dynamo ended up walking up, and I think he took a shot at I think he just shot Iron Fist, but with cover and everything, Iron Fist was fine, and no shock, so lucky for me there. But yeah, so that was round 1, and if I go to the next one here, this wasn't round 2. This might have been round 2. I'm going to stay on this slide because I think this one's going to be easier to kind of go through the kind of steps of what happened here. So we go into the next round, and he elected not to go with Hulk right away. He actually decided to go with, I think he did Iron Fist first, actually. So he goes with Iron Fist, who's all powered up because he has just flipped. But instead of doing the Iron Fist, he chooses to patch up Hulk for 5. Cool. So Hulk is now taken only 8 damage, so he's got 12 to go, which is a ways still. Then he, I want to say, starts just punching into, was it Voodoo? Might have been Voodoo. And he does just one tap him. Yeah, no, it was Voodoo. He punches Voodoo, does the remaining 4 damage to him, just taking him right out, which was real unfortunate. Had he went for the double tap, I would have Heroes for Hired. Didn't expect him to get it in 1, but it is what it is. So Voodoo's down. That sucks, but his second attack, I think, went into my Iron Fist and just went wide. So we're cool with that. Then we went with Blade because we needed to take Iron Fist off the table. That was really important if we wanted to kill Hulk. So, did we? I'm gonna actually think about this one a second, because that doesn't make sense to me now in hindsight, since I remember Blade going hard into Hulk. Right, okay, I remember what happened here more clearly. So Iron Fist didn't actually punch Iron Fist with his second action. He did a flying kick on Cage instead, which he was just barely in range 3. And he ends up placing himself on the back here, which, yeah, he's contesting my back point, and that sucks for me, but he's now out of heroes for higher range. So we did go with Blade next, and, or no, we went with Ghost Rider next. We went with Ghost Rider next. We did a 6 dice attack again. Got a couple damage on that, and then we went for a penance stare because we had the power and Hulk was fully powered up, so we were hoping for big things there. He did still have a lot of health left. I think at this point we would have needed to do like 9 or 10 damage, because I think we only did like 2, maybe 3 off of the first attack. So I wasn't really expecting the kill here, but we whiff it pretty hard. We only end up doing like 1 or 2 damage, and remember at this point Hulk is on fire too. So that was really unfortunate, but is what it is. That tends to happen with penance stairs sometimes. So we end up leaving him alive in relatively okay condition. At this point, I think he's got like 7. No, he's got 9 health left at this point, if I remember correctly. Sorry, 8. 8. We end up between Ghost Rider's 2 attacks doing 4 damage. So he's got 8 health remaining. And then once again, he decides not to go with Hulk right away. He actually goes with Wong, and he peels the Hex off of Hulk. His second action, I think he like gives Hulk a power or something as well. So he's powering him up, because I did take a couple away with Ghost Rider, but otherwise, we now have another opportunity to take Hulk out. So it's Blade time. We go for a stab with the katana, and that unfortunately totally whiffs, but then we go for a spender. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the power to spend her twice, otherwise we would have. But we go for a spender, and we end up getting 8 successes on our 7 dice attack. Now that is with full rerolls, but still really, really good. He only blocks 1, and we end up doing 7 damage to him there, so that's pretty good. We leave him alive on 1 and bleeding, so now he definitely has to go with Hulk, and this is where things get really, really rough. He gamma leaps over the like log thing here, and he does a beam into Iron Fist, who's at full health right now. Blade, who's at half health. I think he was hit by something earlier. Or maybe this is... No, he was hit by something. He's at half health. I don't remember what. Actually, might have been Dynamo or something. I'm not sure. And Cage. He ends up getting a beam on all 3 of them. The beam is 9 dice because he has taken a bunch of damage. And he's no longer hexed, so this is a full strength thing. And this takes Cage from full health, which really sucked. It takes Blade from full health, or no, Blade had 3 damage on him, Blade from half health, and it leaves Iron Fist on like 2. So he decides not to shake the bleed because Iron Fist hadn't activated yet, and he just punches Iron Fist again, which dazes Iron Fist and kills my entire activation, or my entire turn. So that was not ideal for me because it meant Ghost Rider and Blade were the only models that actually activated that round for me. After that, Hulk does bleed out, so Hulk is going to be off the table, so I'm not too worried going into the next round, but it is a big turn for him. He ends up getting all of the Montesi books, except one I think was in somewhere he couldn't pick up, but he does score all 3 of these. He ends up moving Beta Ray over towards the middle and keeping Crimson Dynamo kind of towards the back there. Doesn't throw any attacks into Ghost Rider or anything like that. Lets me have my health for that one. So at this point, is this one more accurate? It kind of is. It's at a not amazing angle because Blade is way down here. But for this round, what we end up having happen was I obviously had priority after this, and I'm going to try and remember the turn of events here, so give me a second on this one. Yeah, so the following round was basically a 0 turn. Some positionings get shaken up a little bit, but one of the big things that happens is Voodoo ends up getting taken down in 2 beams from Dynamo, which was really, really unfortunate. 4 dice defense, he just whiffed on both of them, and he just goes down to that. In the same process, Blade and Cage both got shocked. So that wasn't great. And he ends up having Dynamo kind of come up towards this middle one, and Wong ends up rotating to the back. And he still had his Iron Fist back here. I do manage to take his Iron Fist off the board. What I end up doing is I go with Blade, and I basically Knight of the Dampier on him, and I move back, and I think I had to Katana him as well. But I do take him off the board, so that's great. We've gotten rid of now 9 threat of his models, but he has taken 4 of mine in compensation, and unfortunately Voodoo didn't get to do all that much before he left. But it was what it was. This round also, I believe, was the round that Iron Fist was able to do the Iron Fist. I end up doing it on Beta Ray, who at this point was like down here from running to pick up some Montesi books. So I end up using the Iron Fist on Beta Ray. I only do like 1 or 2 damage, and the splash damage to Crimson is a thing because Crimson's now over here. But it's still something, and I deny the activation. So all he really has to go with left after that is Wong, and Wong just chills on the back point. I think he might have healed Crimson Dynamo back up to full or something like that, but nothing too eventful because it is just Wong. We end up going with Ghost Rider. We go to contest the middle point, and we just throw a bunch of attacks into Crimson Dynamo, but we aren't able to take him down, so unfortunately, he's still scoring up on us at the end of that round, but it's not quite as bad. We've mitigated it a little bit, and now we really just need to start taking these models off the table, and that is where we start to get into this, which was the final board state of that round. There was the activated Beta Ray and the Crimson Dynamo. So we go to the next round, and these guys are both on their injured side, on fire, not looking too great. I end up having Cage patch up Blade to full health again because I'm very worried about that. And it's basically just operation. We need to kill these 2 things because they're both holding books, and that's really problematic at this point. So I think we had Ghost Rider try to do it first. He throws a bunch of attacks into Beta Ray, and I think we do end up taking him down. I'm trying to remember exactly how this happened. Before this, Crimson Dynamo went, and Crimson Dynamo ends up taking, I want to say, Iron Fist and Luke Cage off the board. I might be slightly off on that, but I know both of them left the board very quickly this round, and it was not super pretty for me. Because Cage was on like half health, Iron Fist was on, I want to say, full health going into that, and they just got double beamed by Dynamo, so that wasn't great at all. But I did at least have Blade back to full health, so I figured, if Blade and Ghost Rider can do their job and take out these 2, we have a chance. And then so Ghost Rider succeeds in taking down Crimson Dynamo, but Blade unfortunately doesn't end up doing anything over here. And then he gets taken down. I don't remember whether it was by Beta Ray Bill or if it was in the next round by Crimson Dynamo. Beta Ray Bill might have actually been the one who took down Cage, and Crimson Dynamo took down Iron Fist. Either way, both of those models left the table, and then Blade left the table first thing in the following round. So at this point, I have a full health Crimson Dynamo and I want to say almost full health Beta Ray. I might have flipped Beta Ray at some point between this, thinking about it. There might have been, I might have had Beta Ray flipped at the end of this turn. But basically Ghost Rider needs to table at this point. It's my only real out here, and he is still healthy, so I mean it's something he potentially can do. He goes for a builder into, I want to say Dynamo was my first target here. I really just need to take him off the table, and doesn't do anything on the first one. The second one ends up doing, I want to say 4 damage and leaving him alive on like 1 or 2, which was pretty great, but unfortunately it was too little too late at that point because he was scoring the board, and that was enough to bring him to 16. So that was game 2. It was a fun game. It was super violent. I wish a few models had performed a little bit better. Namely Voodoo. He was really disappointing in this game. But is what it is. I mean, we were kind of asking for a dice game. We went down the middle. My goal was to kill Hulk. So when you're asking for a dice game, you can't be too upset when the dice go cold on you. But my opponent was great, and it was a fun game. So yeah. That was still a good experience overall. So round three was up against Nate, and this was the list that he brought. He called it Beam City. I just realized, which yeah, that's fitting. And I'll leave that up on the screen for a second. But the models he ended up bringing were Cyclops, Storm, Emma Frost, and Psylocke. Oh, and Domino. So yeah, we were playing on Legacy Virus and Mutant Madman, and we only have one picture for this one, but this game was freaking wild. So I'm gonna grab that picture and we'll jump into it. Okay, so this picture was near the end of the game. As a matter of fact, this picture was the final round of the game. My list here was Iron Man, Voodoo, Luke Cage, Venom, and Steve Rogers, Captain America, like the first one. Um, so I ended up deploying Steve and Venom on this side of the board. There was a big old size three piece of terrain here. He had Storm and Emma on the other side here. We had Psylocke facing off against Cage down the middle here. And then on the left side, I had Iron Man and Voodoo facing off against Cyclops and Domino. So I had priority here, and I ended up going with Cage to grab the middle right away because I wanted to try and get the advantage on those. He ends up going with Storm for this one and is able to place himself behind a piece of terrain so Voodoo or Venom can't punish at all, which was a little unfortunate, but is what it is. One of the advantages of having choice of table side, which he didn't actually use, but it's something that I could have potentially used if it had been my second turn. So power to him there. And then on this side, I had Iron Man go and grab this one. Then he ends up going with Domino next, and he moves her up to pretty much where she is. I don't think she actually moved after that turn. No, she ended up moving once. She ends up hanging out somewhere around here, and she shoots Iron Man, and she does, I think, 3 damage to him. The first shot does nothing, and then the second shot does 3 damage. She passes the power over to Psylocke, which ends up being a big deal because my next turn, I didn't really have anything meaningful I could do, so I just moved up Voodoo. Wasn't able to get in range, which is kind of what I expected, so we just chilled there. We failed to flip our point, which was a big deal. Meanwhile, Domino had succeeded in flipping this one already. So then he goes with Psylocke, and Psylocke is able to use her telekinetic combat enhancement to get up the board and in range of Luke Cage immediately, which was really rough. So she goes for a attack on Cage. Does I think a couple damage, like 3 or 4 damage on the first attack, and then the second attack finishes him off. So that's not great. We lose the legacy virus to Psylocke over there, and we also already have Cage down, so it's not looking too great. Oh, actually, no, he got it in one. I know he got it in one because I was going to Heroes for Hire if he had to double tap, but he got it in one, which was a big deal. Over on this side, I move up Captain America. I throw a shield at Storm. I actually did pretty good. I think I did like 3 damage or something there, which was cool. But not enough to take her down, so it doesn't really matter because I have no way of getting Venom to finish the job. He goes over here with Cyclops. He tries to shoot Iron Man, and I don't think he gets anything out of it, or maybe it contributed to the 3 damage that he had. But it doesn't change the final outcome there. So I move up with Venom, and we're just hanging out. Venom or Steve actually succeeded on flipping the point, so Venom still has all of his power. And then Emma moves up, and we realized partway through that we definitely broke the rules on this one because Emma goes to attack Venom, and I decided to bodyguard with Steve, which obviously is a big no-no. We realized way too late to go back on it though, so we just kind of lived with it, and we kind of acknowledged that it was actually in his favor that we screwed up the rule because Emma one-shot Steve, so that was pretty big. My leader ends up being taken down. I didn't even get this point, and I didn't even get the middle extract despite having prio. So he ends up scoring up like 4-2 or something like that round one, which is not a great start for my team. I'm not going to go into like turn by turn details, partially because I don't have the pictures and I know that's less entertaining for you guys. But basically, what ends up happening on this side is Venom and Steve slowly start whittling down Emma to being on like one health, and we end up flipping Storm and taking the virus from her and putting it on. I think Steve ended up holding it. Venom ends up getting a lot of value out of being able to heal off of his spenders, so that's really great. He does a bunch of that throughout the game because Emma kept hitting like an absolute truck, including putting Steve down to one health in like one attack, which was terrifying. It was a physical attack too, actually, because it was her shatter. She had to flip to try and not die. Um, so that was a thing. Meanwhile, Storm had like kind of retreated back here, and so we were in kind of a bit of a stalemate on this side. But I was definitely taking a real hard beating, but I put him in kind of an awkward position there where his models were low on health, which was something I ended up using in the final round of the game to basically be like, Steve, Steve throws his shield, takes out Emma, and puts Storm down to one health, which is kind of a big deal. Or not one health, but like really low. Then Storm goes and she throws Steve and he dies because I didn't have Brace this game. He had very, very few throws in his list, so I figured I was probably okay. And of course, he ends up bringing the only two that were in the entire list, so is what it is. Um, but then Storm goes to attack Venom, and Venom uses Lethal Protector on himself to bump forward. So I would be out in range 3, so I'd be able to crack back. And I end up killing Storm, not with the damage on that, but on the bleed that gets automatically applied. So that was kind of entertaining. And then Venom picks up the Legacy Cure that was on this side, moves over to their back point and flips it, scoring me this entire side of the board, which was really, really nice. Because as you can see, this round the score before the end of the round had been 9-10. So this side of the board was a lock there. And then on this side, Iron Man had been surviving for so long over here. Meanwhile, Cage suffered. Cage got dummied again by Psylocke in the next round, which was really, really rough. He dropped like a spender on her, ends up trying to run away and like with Avengers Assemble. And then I don't get the throw on Psylocke. The slow and stun is relevant, but not, game breaking without the throw. So I do that. I walk away, and then she chases. She kills Luke Cage. Voodoo starts zapping. Well, he starts zapping both of them one at a time. I think we dazed Cyclops and did some damage into Domino. Meanwhile, Iron Man flips Psylocke with Cage had already done like 3 damage to her, I think. So Iron Man boosts a couple repulsors and ends up flipping her. He's also way the heck back here because he kept getting pushed by Cyclops, who was trying to finish him off, and he's on fire because Domino was trying to finish him off too with grenades. We did end up burning a patch up to fully heal him from one health remaining, and then he ends up going back down to one health, and then we're in the final round here, and basically I started out the round on this side of the board actually. I Helios lasered Psylocke off the table and basically just backed him, or not backed him up. I shot Emma, or I shot Psylocke, and then I Helios lasered Psylocke. I was hoping to maybe be able to do it without Helios, but I wasn't, so we went for it. Then Voodoo, what he ends up doing is at this point, Cyclops had already gone and wasn't holding anything. And so I basically just walked forward. Domino was on 2 or 3 health from my previous turns of attacks. So I spend her on Domino, take her down, and then I flip his back point. And Iron Man at this point is holding 2 of the Legacy Cures because he picks up Psylocke's. And now I've got everything on this side of the board as well, which, as my opponent pointed out to me, because I definitely didn't expect that to be the end of the game, was exactly 7 points, which just shot me from 9-16. So that was the game. I'm actually really, really proud of how I played this one because through most of the game, the dice were not on my side. Iron Man refusing to die was really, really nice, but everybody else on my team was dropping like flies. So I'm really proud of how I played this one. I think I did a good job at mitigating that. But obviously Iron Man staying alive was a little bit of luck on my side that I did need to pull it off. So Yeah, I think it was a really fun game. I was a little salty about the dice near the beginning, with Steve getting dummied so quickly and then Cage being off the table like nothing. That was really unfortunate, but um, yeah, no, it ended up being a really good game, kind of as a in hindsight thing. Like it had a lot of feels bads during the game, but looking back on it, I think it would have been a really entertaining game. But yeah, that was round three. So into the final round at this point, I've got two wins, which is pretty much what I came there for. So we're happy whatever goes in the final round. So in the final round, we ended up being paired against Shane. I've played against him in the past. He's a very good player. And he was running some Brotherhood today. So here's his full list here. Obviously, as usual, I'm not going to go through the entire thing. And we ended up playing on Montesi and Mayor Fisk. So as you can see, he ended up winning. I did end up going 2-2. And I ended up playing Daredevil Defenders here. So yeah, let's go ahead and start breaking that down. All right, so there was a lot of stuff going on round one here. So one of the Mayor Fists was on top of here because this was after we moved them, and the other one was like here-ish. So what I ended up doing, because I had first activation, he was playing Mystique, Toad, Juggernaut, and Hulk. I was playing Voodoo, Ghost Rider, Luke Cage, and Daredevil. So he had Deception, which I was terrified of, but I figured if any of my models are going to die to Deception, I'm okay with it being the one who can come back. So we wanted to go with Ghost Rider first, and we just went and picked up the middle. What even was it? It was Montesi. We went and picked up the Montesi with him. So he picks up the Montesi. He tried to get himself in range of the middle one, but unfortunately was a little shy. So is what it is there. But he ends up not going with Mystique next, so I didn't get Deception here. He ends up going with Toad, and he moves him up behind the dumpster there and places the Mystique token on there, which kind of forced my hand to have Voodoo go up there and contest it. But I'm more than okay with that because that also means now I have someone close enough to deny Deception on him. So that was working out pretty well for me. Then he ends up going with Mystique. He moves her up to be near the point. She wasn't quite on it. It was Voodoo and Juggernaut were the only ones contesting it when it actually got moved. Or I guess later in the round. But she moves up, and I think she just starts firing off a pistol shot into one of the two. I actually want to say she shot at Ghost Rider and ends up doing 2 damage to him. So sure, I'm not too upset about that. Here I ended up moving with Luke Cage because I really didn't want to give him any later deception targets, so I just barely kept Cage within two of Ghost Rider. But unfortunately, I was just off of being in the Mayor Fisk up here, so we're not going to have Cage contesting that, but we are protecting Ghost Riders, so that's cool. Or protecting Cage, more like. Um, so then he ends up going with Juggernaut. He brings him over here, and he just double moved, so he didn't do any stampedes or push or damage or anything like that. So we're okay with that. We have ourselves contesting to still, so everything's looking all right over there. And then we went Daredevil, and we just hung out on the Mayor Fisk up here. So we had a model contesting. He double moves Hulk and throws me away. So surprise, surprise, he ends up winning that point. And then over here, he plays Do You Know Who I Am to get Voodoo out of here as well and Plinka damage into him for hitting the sign there. So he takes the point lead early game here, and I'm a little worried about this because at this point he has last activation every round. We have the same number of models. So I actually am at this point really want to give him priority because I'm not going to be able to get those Fisk witnesses out of his hands if he gets to go last every round, and it's a bit of a problem. So going into round two, there's a bunch of stuff here, and yeah, so I'm gonna have to think on this one for a second. Okay, so if I remember correctly, I started out the round with Voodoo here, and I basically double tapped Toad, who I'd stunned and done a damage to with moving the witness there. So I double tapped Toad. I end up leaving him alive on like 1 or 2 health. But because he was stunned, he doesn't have the power to do slippery, so that's cool. We end up dropping his token, and we just drop it kind of generally down here. Then what he ends up doing is he has Mystique run, pick it up, and then run away. So that's a thing we have to kind of chase her down. We have Ghost Rider, I want to say, ends up moving onto the point to contest it, and just blasts Mystique like once. We end up doing maybe 2 or 3 damage to her, which isn't nothing. Oh no, we end up blasting her twice. We double tap her. We don't take her down. We do 2 or 3 damage, I think, and we hex her, which is cool. And then she ends up playing Deception to pull me way over there, so I'm not contesting the point, and Toad is winning the point. So that's unfortunate for me. Then he has Juggernaut go and just wail on Voodoo down here. So Voodoo, actually, if I remember correctly, ends up going down here. If not here, then he went down shortly after. But that was what happened on the side of the board. Meanwhile, over here, I had Cage climb the thing to go land over here. I had Daredevil come in and land over here. So I was trying to block some of his landing zones, which worked kind of well here. He ends up having to Gamma Leap on top of the building because he can't fit on the other side. He throws Daredevil way over here, and oh, what happens is he punches Daredevil, and he does 4 damage, which leaves me alive on 1 and gives me enough power to do my walk back and attack thing. I choose not to attack, but I do walk back onto the point, at which point he realizes he probably should have punched Cage because the push there would have actually mattered. So he throws Daredevil away and uses his second action to walk onto the point. Daredevil didn't actually collide with that, so Daredevil is just on 1 health right now. And we do end up contesting this point, so I do manage to tie one of them at least this round. So it slows him down a little bit, but it definitely isn't stopping him. He's still getting more points than me, and it's a little problematic. But yeah, we're making some progress, and yeah, we go ahead and move into the next round here. So this round, a bunch of stuff happens. As you can see, Toad ends up running over here. He just decides he's gonna go try to help out on this side. He's on his injured side now, so he's not looking too great. Or oh wait, how did that happen? I'm gonna think about this one. Okay, so he's not actually on his injured side. He's run over here, but he is still alive. On his healthy side. What we end up doing on this side of the board is we end up having, I want to say, Ghost Rider goes up for the point and punches. Did I miss a round? Huh. Okay, so I am actually really foggy on the events of this round. Um, a lot of similar things ended up happening though. So we I think we did Days Mystique this round. You can see the book here is from dropping it. This looks like it was also the round that Voodoo got dazed, so I guess it wasn't the previous round. That's small distinction, but is relevant. Um, so we end up dazing Mystique. Voodoo got dazed, and Juggernaut comes up here to try and contest with Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider ends up being able to go last on this side, if I remember correctly, and he actually ends up moving onto the point and is able to contest it. So things are looking good there, but he does end up getting some damage into Ghost Rider, so Ghost Rider's seen better days now. And Toad ends up moving over here. Something feels off about that. I feel like Toad should be flipped right now, but we'll worry about that when we get there. Maybe that was actually what ends up happening here, is Daredevil moved in. I was still trying not to hit Hulk, so I think I threw a baton at Toad, and that was how I finished him off on the other side of the thing. That might have been it. Then on this side, I think this was the turn that I actually got the stagger on Hulk with Luke Cage. I just punched him twice, fishing for the stagger because he had nothing else to do, and I actually got it. So that allowed me to tie that point again, which was really nice because this meant I actually managed to tie both of the points this round. So yeah, we were slowly but surely starting to make some progress on that front. And yeah, going into the next round, he ends up hopping Toad up there, and I think he lights Cage on fire with him. So that's a thing. But on this side of the board, we basically have both of them come in, and then Hulk gets rid of both of them. He throws Daredevil again, just throwing him away normally, and he spendered Cage and actually took him down this turn, I think. He takes him down and throws him into the thing, and yeah, I think that was this turn. It might have just been the push this turn, but I'm not 100% sure. Doesn't really matter. Either way, he scored that point. Over here, we took Mystique off the table, which was really nice. We end up moving Voodoo up here to start laying into Juggernaut. But at this point, as you can see, Ghost Rider has been dazed. So Juggernaut is winning this point because he's the healthy model left on this side of the board. We put a bunch of damage into him, but we can't actually, or we put a bunch of attacks. We can't actually get much damage through because he does have really, really good Mystic defense. But we end up just using Brother Daniel to drop a book over here, and we can't pick it up because Voodoo already has one, but we leave it there for Ghost Rider for the next round, just again slowing down his points however we can. We don't manage to tie that point though, so he is still scoring both of them again this round, which puts him up to, if I remember correctly, 12, which isn't looking too great for me. So we go into the next round though. We do have Mystique off the table, so that's looking a lot better. And we have a lot of things we need to do here. So oh, this is the round that he staggered and then killed or dazed Cage. So that's what happened over here. We actually jumped the Fisk to the other side of the building, and it takes down, or it does a damage. It stuns Toad, who's now on his flip side, so he doesn't have very much health. He ends up running Toad over here actually just to help him contest this point. Because he was worried, I guess, about Juggernaut going down, and rightly so, because I believe I took down Juggernaut this turn, not before Juggernaut took Voodoo off the table, so that was a little unfortunate for me. But Ghost Rider manages to take Juggernaut down, and Daredevil actually walks over here away from Hulk and throws a baton to kill Toad. So I actually managed to score the witness for a turn, which was really nice because it actually put me to a point where there was a world where I was actually able to tie things and go into a round 7. So we were getting excited about that. And do I have another round after this? I don't. So I didn't actually take a picture of the final game state here. But basically after this round, we had a lot of things we had to do and not very many models to do it. At this point, was it Daredevil had been dazed? Because, oh no, Cage had my other book. Um, so when Cage got dazed here, Hulk picked up a book. He was only 2 points away from winning this round because he did get this witness. And then um, Juggernaut was also pretty trivially able to pick up a book and be contesting points. So we were going to have some problems this round. We go with Ghost Rider because we basically need to kill both of these models. And we'd started putting some damage into Hulk at this point, but not very much because for the most part our plan had been to ignore him. So we go hard into Juggernaut with Ghost Rider. We go for chains as well as a penance stare, but unfortunately neither of them really pan out. The penance stare does drain all of his remaining power, but we only end up putting like 5 damage onto him, which isn't bad all things considered, but isn't quite what we needed him to do, so that was a thing. And then Juggernaut is contesting this point, and he ends up, I think, pushing Ghost Rider away with just a regular attack. So that's not looking too great for us. He's chilling down here. I think he's also picked up the book here, and he's winning both of these points. So that's not good for us. With Luke Cage, our only hope really was to throw the stagger or not throw the stagger, to do a bunch of damage into Hulk so Daredevil could finish him off. So we do a double spender. We do end up doing a pretty decent amount of damage, something like 5 or 6 damage, but it was nowhere near the like 15 we still needed. So that wasn't going to do it. But that ends up being all Cage does in the final round. And then Hulk does the really smart thing of double moving, throwing Daredevil away, and then gamma leaping back to the point. Had he not thrown Daredevil away or interacted with Daredevil at all, and just had the 2 on the point, there was a world where Daredevil stands between them and does a area attack on both of them. And not that it would have been particularly high odds. There was a world where that actually takes them both down and ends in a table in my favor. So that would have been pretty wild, but unfortunately for me, he definitely did the smarter play there, and he just basically said, "No, I'm gonna make this an auto win." We screwed up for a second. We thought both of us, for whatever reason, thought that Daredevil had a pursuit on his baton throw. I think it was because I'd been playing Blade earlier in the day, so we almost thought he had an out where I paid for his ability that lets him do a basic attack for without an action. And I got really excited because I was like, oh, I got the pursuit. And then I read the text and I was like, wait a minute, that's not a pursuit. And I can't pull either of these lads. So this doesn't matter. And that was the game there. But it was a really good game. He was a really good opponent. And yeah, I had a lot of fun there. So it started very, very one-sided, but I was kind of seeing a path to victory near the end that I didn't think I was going to get, which was really nice. So yeah, that was the final round. And after all that, we end in ninth place with our triple affiliated mess of a roster here. So, I mean, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, usually I do gun for the, 3-1 ratio there, but considering that I was running a bit of a kind of meme list there, it's all models that I think I consider at least decent. I don't really think any of these are bad models. I think Iron Fist and maybe Venom are on the bottom of the list, but I think everyone there is pretty solid and to pull their own weight. Um, it's just it's a very disjointed list. It's missing a few key pieces. There's a few things it just can't do, like control on large models is a major problem that this list has. So that's very much a thing that we struggle with in this list. But um, all of that considered, I'm very happy with how I did. Winning a couple games in with a list like that, and I'm pretty happy with. And of course, the only game we played Avengers was a win, which was relatively important because Avengers is one of the ones where I actually kind of care about my ratings. So that's cool. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I missed playing Midnight Sun, so that was a fun time playing them again. Might break them out more again in the future because that's kind of what I started the game with, and I'd love to go back to them because they were a lot of fun. But that is going to do it for this tournament recap. My voice is absolutely dead after the full day of tournament and then making this video. So we're gonna go ahead and call it there. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We do stuff like these whenever I have a tournament, so they're fairly inconsistent. But we also do character spotlights and other kind of competitive focused discussions every Wednesday. And we have battle reports on Sundays. So if you're interested in either of the above, feel free to join on in. But as far as this video is concerned, that's going to be it. So once more, I hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.